Welcome to Beauty Business Matters. I'm Susan Routledge, your host, and I am here with Eve Oxbury today. Anyone who doesn't know Eve is the long-term editor of like 20 years now of Professional Beauty magazine, and we are going to talk about her, which she doesn't get very many opportunities to do that. So we're going to talk all about her background, all the things that she does, which is far, far more than being a standard editor. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we do. So welcome, Eve. I am so pleased that you've decided to come over because I know how busy you are. You just
always, yeah,
always crazy busy. And I mean, I think everyone sees you around the shows, sees you in the magazine, but really doesn't know a great deal about you and your background and everything. So that's why I was like so keen to get you over into the studio. So I think the first time I ever met you was, we were in the awards, which is like way back. Yes. We were in Salon of the Year. You came as a judge.
Yeah.
And then I can remember taking you to the next salon, which I think might have been City Retreat.
It was.
Yes. Taking you to, well, Leslie and I are really good friends, but like to
a competitor.
The other finalist. That wasn't even the start, was it? Because I think then you had still been with Professional Beauty a little bit before that.
Yeah.
So did you say earlier it was 20 years?
Yes, that's terrifying, isn't it? It's slightly over 20 years, which is terrifying. I did leave and then come back to it during that time, but yes, 20 years ago was my first entry into the beauty industry with Professional Beauty.
So how did your career first start then?
Well, I came to it from a journalism background, not a beauty therapy background. So out of university, my first job was actually on an engineering magazine, which, taught me a lot, but wasn't really my passion. I think that's, it was interesting, and I learned an awful lot about journalism and how to construct features and how to interview people and that kind of thing. But yes, when the job came up on Professional Beauty, initially it was as a features writer, and I saw it and just thought that sounds much more up my street. So I applied for that, that's kind of how I got into it. But yes, definitely always from that kind of journalism background. But as soon as I started writing about the beauty industry, meeting people in the industry, I just fell in love with it. You know, it's about the people. I think everyone always says that. What's your favourite thing about the industry? It's the people, really. They're lovely people. I've never been much of a kind of corporate type. So, you know, I'm talking to people that run their own businesses. They're small owner-operator businesses mainly. And they've got so much passion for it. And there's always something new going on within salons, but also within the industry as a whole. There's always new treatments, new products, new technology. So, it's really interesting.
Because obviously you're the editor.
Yeah.
But I think your role is a lot more, you're not just sitting writing articles. What does a day in the life of Eve Oxbury look like?
Yeah, well, it varies. I mean, probably everyone says this. It can be so different day to day. My role is head of editorial of the beauty side of the business. So we've got a hair side as well, which I'm not so involved in. But on the beauty side, I oversee Professional Beauty and aesthetic medicine. We have a separate editor on aesthetic medicine, so I'm less hands-on there. But on Professional Beauty, I edit the magazine. I also oversee the content on the website and the social media channels, and then also content in terms of a lot of what you see at the events. So the live stages, predominantly, my team and I will source the speakers and come up with the topic ideas for those and get those sorted too. So it's quite a mix. And I think it's changed a lot over the years. When I first started, it was predominantly just the print magazine. And it's like everybody, it's developed so much to be digital first. So we do an awful lot online and an awful lot on social media. So skills have had to develop, I'd say, in that time. You know, I think people do think of the role of an editor as reading copy and editing copy and writing copy, but it's so much more than that now, definitely.
And way back then, when you first started, how many were in the team then? Because I would imagine the team was a lot smaller at that point.
Yeah, well, initially, when I very first started, we had quite a few different magazines, so the team was similar size. then the business was sold and then bought back by our MD Mark, which is quite an unusual move. But when he bought it back, we started almost from scratch again. So it was just me in editorial at that point. And I came back as editor of Professional Beauty, and then it's kind of grown from there. We relaunched aesthetic medicine and brought in a team for that. He then bought the hair side of the business and brought in the team from Hairdressers Journal, and then Modern Barber. So it's kind of grown. The editorial team's grown a lot over the years. But
I can remember, I was actually in the office the day when the hairdressing side came in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's the thing I've always liked. When you come to your offices, what I love is that everyone's together. It's like, it's just such, it's a bit like a family team kind of thing. Like this, everyone's together. And I always, I don't know what, I know now you're in newer premises, which aren't, well, they're not new now, are they? You've been
It's been a while. I think
Wimbledon.
it was 2019 I think we moved there.
But the smaller offices you had originally,
Yeah.
It was just snug. Everyone was in together.
Yeah.
And I always remember, I didn't realise Mark was in there as well. So there was like you and Mark, everyone was in together.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved that. But now obviously you're a little bit more spread out.
Yeah, we're across a couple of floors now, and it's a lot more people, so we had to grow. But yeah, still very close. It's still nice. I mean, we're like a lot of companies, we do some hybrid working, so we'll work from home sometimes. We're obviously out a lot, but everyone's in the office at least 3 days a week, so we collaborate really well. It's really nice.
So do you have like a team under you, like so that you work with the closest?
Yeah, so I oversee Professional Beauty and Aesthetic Medicine. We've got a separate editor for Aesthetic Medicine, and then the rest of the team kind of work across the two. So we've got deputy editor, a features editor, and an editorial assistant who kind of work across the publications, yeah.
Obviously, over that time as well, you've seen huge changes in the industry.
Definitely.
So what are the biggest changes that you've seen, would you say?
I think probably the rise of the aesthetic side of the industry. It was always there, and it was predominantly previously quite doctor-led. And the rise of beauty therapists moving into that more advanced treatments side of the industry, partly due to profit potential, really. I think there is a really strong profit potential with a lot of that. I mean, you yourself, you're an example of that with your salon. But yeah, I think that's been a huge change, and we've seen a shift in terms of the brands and the companies that are coming through and entering the industry. There's been a lot of businesses in that area. I think also relatively recently we've seen a big shift in people setting up on their own. There's a move towards a lot more freelancers, fewer of the kind of traditional salon models. I think there's a lot of really, really strong salons still operating, but I think a lot of people have found it tough to run a business and decided to set up on their own and not have to worry so much about the staff costs and the management of people.
But now as well, I mean, I know from when I started my clinic, it was just me, and then I grew, and then when we won like UK Salon of the Year, you think you're infallible, so I was like, right, and we need to grow even bigger. And I think I think the industry has changed in that way, because at that time it was always like it was getting bigger, like sort of, having a bigger team and things.
Yeah.
Because we were then still focusing more on sort of like the more of the beauty treatments, where you've got your wax and your nails and your facials. But now it's moved to a whole new level. So like you say, I mean, I see now solo operators who are specialising in advanced skincare, certainly making equal or more to what some of the established salons with teams are.
Definitely.
And I'm sure you'll see that as well.
Yeah.
And I think that is possibly where the industry's going. I always think, though, that we have it a little bit harder than sort of like the hair side, because our equipment is quite expensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. And do you see that where, like, sort of now that obviously with the shows and things, you're inundated with like different pieces of equipment and
Yeah, definitely. And I think it can be really hard for people to know where to turn and what to choose, because there's always something new. I think there are brands that do it really well, and they will try to kind of future-proof, if you like, their devices. So if they're bringing out something new, it's an add-on to their current device. It's not always a new device, because I think that's, there's always that pressure, isn't there, to have the latest thing, but it's very expensive to do. And as a salon owner, you need to know you're going to get that ROI if you're going to invest that kind of money. But I think that's where the smart ones are moving towards is add-ons to their kind of core piece of equipment, rather than constantly updating. With
I think it is getting more and more now where like it's tailoring treatments as well,
definitely,
isn't it? And layering technologies and different things.
Yeah, and there's so much more you can do now. Obviously, like we were talking about, there's always something new happening. And with the rise of things like exosomes and, things like the focus on longevity, people are very much more looking for a personalised approach, aren't they? They're looking for somebody not only to analyse their skin really well and tell them what their skin needs, but to look at the whole body, the whole person, and how they operate. And there's a lot more testing and things as well. I think that's coming into the spa side and the clinic side. There's lots of testing for, things like NAD and things like that are coming through that are really just getting to what you need for your own personal kind of journey, rather than,
This episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsor, Forest Salon Software. I'm especially delighted about this partnership because I've known the CEO of Forest, Ronan Percival, for over 12 years, and he was also the first guest on this podcast. The Forest story began with a genuine love for the salon industry, and their passion for helping businesses thrive is what makes them such a great synergy and such a great fit for this show. They bring so much energy and enthusiasm to helping and supporting salons. And as part of this partnership, they are offering an exclusive deal for our listeners. It's a huge 50% off Forest Salon software for the first 6 months. It's an incredible saving, especially in today's climate, and a great way for your business to stay focused and strong for 2025 and beyond. If you'd like to take advantage of the offer, simply check out the sign-up link in the show notes, and be sure to mention the podcast when you speak to their fantastic team. And thanks to Forest Software, and now back to our incredible episode. Do you get inundated with opportunities to go and test pieces of equipment? Because I'm sure everyone wants you to like test what they've got or to try it so that you like have you on their side kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we do get quite a lot of invitations to review treatments across the team. So it's partly we could be out every day doing it, but we don't have time. So across the team, we do get out and do that quite a lot. Yeah, so I'll always look for, when I'm choosing what to kind of say yes to in the time I have, I'll always look for something new and something a bit different, something that I've not tried before or that I think is exciting in the industry. So yeah, that's definitely a perk of the job.
Yeah, sure. Just, Mark, I'm just off again.
Yes. If I was doing it every day, he may have something to say about that. But.
So with the shows, obviously, do you find that you vet who's going to be in the shows now? Because there's equipment coming in from all over. Or how do you monitor what's on the floor kind of thing?
Yeah, to a degree, yes. I mean, we have certain regulations and certain guidelines. For example, we've taken a stance as a business that we won't accept companies that are promoting injectables to beauty therapists to do. So we kind of say, obviously, it's not illegal. Beauty therapists can inject dermal filler at the moment, but we take a stance on it that we don't really want to have companies promoting that at the show. So there are things that we have in place like that. And obviously, a lot of the brands have been exhibiting for years. We know them well, and we know and trust them. But yes, when a new one comes in, we do have quite a close look at what they're planning on bringing. Yeah.
I always love when you're there for setup with the shows. I don't think anyone really realises that how much goes into setting up the shows. Quite often I'm there now on the Saturday, where either setting up for Beauty Roundup, or in the past I have had stands as well. And it just at one point it just looks like this is never ever going to come together.
100%, yeah.
It's like there's carpets going down and the side, the stands are getting put up. I mean, but it just all comes together.
Yeah.
I mean, and that can't be just like an easy task.
No, definitely. And to be fair, I am less involved in it than a lot of the rest of the team. A lot of them are there till very late at night on that Saturday getting everything sorted. But yeah, I completely agree. You get there and you're like, oh my God, this show's going to open tomorrow and there's just nothing here yet, or almost nothing here yet. So yeah, no, it's really interesting to see it come together when you watch it as well. You know, people building those stands is incredible, some of them.
Which side do you enjoy more then? Because obviously you're involved with the shows.
Yeah.
But obviously then the magazine, and then now the online side. Which side do you prefer?
Well, my heart's always kind of in the content. I come from a content background, and whatever sort of content that is. I started out very much with a written content background, and it's developed into, video creation, podcasts, all sorts of different aspects, but it's all content. So I'm still passionate about finding the story and interviewing people and getting a story from those people. And I think that's something that we've spoken a lot about, the rise of AI, and I know salons are looking at ways to use that, and there's loads of potential there. But I think for us as a business, with the rise of AI and content creation through AI, the way that we have to really differentiate is that human aspect, and is that story, and getting something that, you know, you can't get as a robot, as a machine. Yeah. You know, it's the interview, it's getting the expertise out of the person, and it's not always as simple as people think. I mean, we have sometimes people that write for us, but not everyone's a writer. It can be harder than people think. So it's getting that information from people and putting that expertise across and almost kind of funneling it into the important parts. And I suppose that's what drives me, and whatever medium that takes, whether that's written content, video, online content, all sorts.
So how do you choose the content? Are you responsible for that? Because, I mean, the magazine, there is so much in there.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's the online going out as well. But, I mean, do you just start with a blank page every month, or do you sort of know ahead what's going to come into the future episodes kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a real mix. I mean, we'll have things that we're kind of constantly working on in the background. So, you know, we'll go out to events, our own events, other people's events, brands' events, all sorts of things, and we'll be talking to people, and a lot of it comes from that, to be honest. So we'll talk to people in the industry and find out what their challenges are and what they're excited about and what's new, and that will be bubbling away under the surface when we come to plan the content. So in terms of the print magazine, we'll have a meeting each month and say, right, what do we want to put in the next issue? But then the online is much more day to day. You know, we might see, oh, this is trending, let's do something on it. And the online is also a lot more analytical. And that, again, is a thing that's changed massively over the time I've been there. We look a lot at the metrics. So we can look on Google Analytics at what's performing well. We can obviously see on our social what's getting the best engagement. And we'll know that sort of content is going to be right for our audience. You know, we have a good idea anyway from knowing the people, but you can see it a lot more in the metrics now than you used to. But then there's also a balance with that, because obviously you don't want to be completely led by that, because then you're just kind of producing the same sort of content all the time. And sometimes it's the controversial things that get the most views and engagement, but you also need to be giving people the kind of the basic business advice that we deliver. So it might not be as exciting for people to kind of engage with online if we're telling them 10 tips about how to manage your team, but actually they find that really useful too. So it's a balance between the two. Yeah,
because you're right though, because like the controversial stuff, it's the same with, we found that with the podcast.
Yeah,
you know, anything controversial gets the views, but then it's you're right, getting that balance, isn't it, of like getting great information, but then as I say, it's crazy how the controversial stuff does.
But you can't be too clickbaity, can you? You know, if you're trying to do, I mean, certain channels can, but for us and for you with the podcast, I think if you're trying to to deliver content to that professional market and give them professional content. It needs to be a balance, doesn't it? Definitely. Yeah.
How do you balance it out though? Because there are so many different views. I mean, in general, but in our industry, I mean, I always think the beauty industry is a lovely industry, but there are as well quite there's a lot of different opinions, especially with things like training and you know, and standards, and you know, you've got like the standard training route now, and then you've got the shorter courses and things, and I mean, there's so many different takes on it all. How do you manage to stay balanced on that with?
I think with for us with content, it's more about sharing other people's opinions. So rather than me saying, I don't agree with this, I don't approve of one-day courses, whatever it might be, I will try to find a balance of, you know, I might interview somebody that does one-day courses and does it in a very responsible way, i.e. you have to have a certain level of training before you do the course, etc. And somebody who's like absolutely against it. It's trying to present that balance of opinions. I think where there are arguments in the industry, actually that's quite interesting for people to read the different views and hopefully do it in a balanced way, and then have other people then weigh in with their own opinions online, which obviously gets the engagement. So yeah, I think it's just trying to make sure if we're putting across a strong opinion, we'll try to also balance it with someone else's opinion who has a slightly different opinion.
Do you find that people expect PB to be like sort of the balance in it all kind of thing?
I guess so, yeah. And it's difficult because we need to be neutral to a degree, but we also need to be controversial and we need to share our opinions. You know, I think more and more content is about the people behind the content. You know, people want to see people. We're always told that with social media, aren't we, with salons? You know, put yourself out there. People want to see you. You are your brand. So we have to do that to a degree. But it's harder for us to be super controversial than it is for somebody who's just an influencer on their own, or, you know, somebody who is not part of a bigger organisation, I suppose. So it's a balance, it's a balance.
And how do you find, because like obviously what everyone always says, when you market and think about who your ideal client is and you write into that person. Yeah. So with PB, who are you writing to? Because obviously you've got like students who are reading it, you've got... or do you have like a few different avatars within that?
I think, yes, we have to, because often it's quite a different personality type from a salon owner who's running 3 salons with a huge team to somebody who's just starting out in the industry. But we do want to cater for those people too. So we'll have different types of content. And that's where it can be difficult. So not every piece of content in the magazine or on the website is going to be relevant for every reader. But I think we have to make sure we're covering enough about nails, enough about spa, enough about aesthetics, you know, and some people might just run a nail salon and not care about the rest of it. But hopefully there's enough nail content there for them, and then enough other sort of content for everyone else.
I mean, I know people who read it cover to cover. In fact, I do. I find the content so interesting. So well done on that, you know. and I think that is, you know, for the magazine to stay so popular for so long, it's like it's not an easy task, is it really?
No, and to stay relevant, I think, is difficult. I mean, I'm getting older now, so I've got a younger team, and I rely an awful lot on them for their ideas, because I'm very aware that, you know, my views on what's cool and what's coming through in the industry are going to be very different from, you know, 22-year-olds' views on it. So, yeah, I think that's really important too, to just make sure you've got a mix of voices and a mix of people directing that content, really. So, yeah.
So do you think that's the way forward? Is it like, is the team becoming younger now, or?
I suppose, yes, inevitably when we bring new people in, it tends to tends to be a bit younger. So yes, I'm a bit outnumbered in the office by the younger ones. But I think that's really important. Like I say, I mean, we've got a mix of age ranges at the moment, definitely. But I think, you know, people come with different skills and different views and opinions.
I've always found everyone in the team always like so helpful. I don't know. It's just. And it's nice, I think, as well, that, you know, you guys are out and about in the shows and things all the time, meeting everyone interviewing people. It's just a real buzz created all the time.
It's so important, I think. I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying about, maybe when you first come into journalism as a job, you see it as sitting at a desk writing features or, maybe interviewing people and writing it up. But I think the role now of an editor or of an editorial person within a business title like professional beauty is so much broader. You have to be a brand ambassador as well. You have to be a brand manager almost. You have to be a host, a presenter. You have to be. So I think finding people that have got all of those skills can be difficult. Recruitment is probably harder than it used to be for that reason, because you might be a brilliant writer but not a very good presenter. So it's kind of learning those skills.
And on that side, so if because obviously, there's some great talent in our industry out there, and I meet so many salon owners who have got great ideas or great knowledge, but then never ever do anything about it, as in like contacting you guys. If someone wanted to write something for professional beauty, how would they go about that?
Just drop us an email is the easiest thing. I know that sounds very simple, but I think the key thing probably is to sell your USP or tell us what your USP is, because I do sometimes get emails from salon owners that say something like, I've had my business for 10 years, my clients all love it, my team are all very motivated and we really look after our clients, and I'd love to do a feature. And I'm like, that's lovely, but that could be a million different businesses, couldn't it? There's loads of salons out there that could say that. So what are you doing that's different? Or what new initiative have you just brought into your business? Or what are you doing that you think might align with a trend that's in the industry at the moment? What are you an authority on? What's your specialism? So I think that's the key thing. It's pitch a certain angle of a story rather than a generic.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because, I think everyone forgets that you guys are so busy, and it has to be something that's good. You say, it can't just be something that's just general, because then it's just general for everyone, really, isn't it, kind of thing. But I think that brings us nicely into the awards, because, there are so many great businesses out there, so much talent out there, so many new innovations out there, and people doing things that are exceptional in our industry.
Definitely.
And I mean, I feel very, very honoured that I've I think judged now maybe for 14 years, I think it is, something like that. And I never ever tire of it. I now don't judge as much as I used to. I do sort of just certain categories, because some of the categories now are getting quite large.
Huge, there's a lot of work, and yes, we're very, very grateful to our judges for that reason. There's a lot of industry experts like yourself who give up a lot of time for free to do it, but it's a time-consuming process for sure. Some of the categories, Therapist of the Year is normally our most entered category, and it can have 80 odd entries, so it's a lot to get through for people. But I love the awards. It's one of my favourite parts of the job, 100%. I love the night. Everybody's always so positive and so excited, and you get some tears on stage, which I love. But it's a in-depth process, the kind of entry and judging process. But I think my main advice on the award side would be the same as with content. It's about selling your USP, isn't it? And I think as a judge, you'd hopefully agree that when you're looking through that many entries, something needs to stand out, and you need to say that early and what makes you special. Yeah,
I think there are so many great businesses and great people in our industry, and it has to be something that stands out to catch a judge's eye. Or I always think as well how something's laid out, because it's quite hard when that's why I don't judge any of the larger categories now, because I know quite a lot of the judges, and we all so passionate about what we do, and you want to dedicate as much time and give everyone equal sort of opportunity to shine. But sometimes it's quite hard when you're on your as I say, I don't do the big ones now, but when you're on your 40th entry, trying to pick out what someone's trying to say. So I always find it's so good if you can, like, beforehand get your key points and not just filling in the word count just for the sake of it, kind
almost
of thing.
bullet point things and that kind of thing.
I always find that's really, really interesting. But the thing is, as well, you get this as well as I do. People are like, say, oh, there's no point in me entering the awards because it's the same people who enter and the same people who win.
Yeah.
And I think that's so, they don't realise what goes into it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there is a perception with any awards. I think any awards in any industry, people always make an assumption that, it's rigged. 100% it is not. It takes an awful lot of work to make it fair, and it's very difficult, I think, to make it fair. But it does take an awful lot of work. With the initial entries, as you know, judges will score them. They don't sort of come together and agree on a shortlist. They'll score each entry individually. And then those with the highest scores will go through to the shortlist, and then each category has a second round of judging for the shortlist, which varies depending on the category, but there's a lot that goes into that too. The salons and spas get visited, so you can actually be confident that they've been seen and been judged in person. The therapists come into London and do a trade test, and all the judges are there watching them. So there's quite a lot that goes into it, definitely. Yeah.
And I think, this last year, there's definitely been salons and individuals who've come in and first time entering winning. It does show that, like, it doesn't matter whether someone has entered X amount of times. You can still get someone who just comes in and just like shines and wins.
Definitely. And I think we always want new people to win, don't we? We always want new people to enter. We want newness in the industry. We want to be inspired by different businesses. So I love it when it's new faces, definitely.
But that must, obviously, when it's when the awards are on, you've already done possibly a day, 2 days at the show, and then there on the night. Smiling away. Yeah. Sometimes I'm sure you must just think, I just want to go to bed.
That weekend is very intense. Yes, I think it probably is for everybody that comes. But yes, from our side, I think because there's so much that goes into the lead up of the show, I'd say for the first couple of months of the year is just so busy. So once we actually get there, it's almost like a relief because most of the work's kind of done in the run up to it. But yes, we're very much, me and my team are very much kind of on, we're on stage, we're, interviewing people on stage, we're up on stage at the awards. So yes, it can be quite tiring, but it's so much fun.
Because you're there presenting, and then the next day you're back in the show again.
Yeah, bright and early. Here I am, feeling great.
Oh my word! So where is the main focus for PB for you now going? Is it just more of the same, of bringing in new things, new features, or?
I'd say content-wise, we're looking, like I sort of mentioned before, we're looking at digital growth and what we can do differently. I think everybody's probably looking at what's changing online and how to kind of keep up with that. We're looking very much, like I said, I think with the potential threat, you might call it, of ChatGPT and AI, anyone can create content now. So we need to do something that's different and that's really got authority. So we're looking at ways to put across our expertise, the expertise of people in the industry and the authority, something that you can't, you wouldn't be able to get if you weren't coming through us to get it. So I think that's really important, and there's lots of different ways we're looking at to do that. On the event side, we're looking at maybe potential for more intimate events. Never going to stop doing the big trade shows. I think that's they're still working really well, but I think there's potential in the industry for more intimate events. So watch this space for those.
I'll tell you something I think's grown massively though as well is the education side. With the shows once over, it used to be, I think, that everyone went really just to see what was on the stands and everything like that. And the education was sort of like a secondary thing, where now I think that the education side is, and it's so good as well. I think that in some ways is either equal or dominates now.
100%. And I think the way we promote the event has changed a lot in that way as well. We really are pushing the education side, the networking side, the people side of it, because I think obviously with the event, you've got a lot of the key brands there, and they've got offers on, and you can meet them face to face and you can try the products. But there is obviously a rise also of people buying online, and it's easier to buy online and it's easier to buy in different ways. So we need to also have lots of content to bring people to the event that isn't just about buying. It has to be a unmissable event due to the education and the people that you're going to meet. So yeah, we focused a lot on the stages, and just making sure the people that we have on there are really strong people that are going to draw a crowd, but also are giving independent advice, not too much promotional stuff all the time, which I think perhaps was a problem in the past. So yeah, just really developing that, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think it has gone back to just great content. And when you see the advanced skincare stages and some of the business stages and things, it's like it's standing room only, and I love that. I love that. It's
so satisfying to see, because it's always that little panic before the show opens. Are people going to turn up? Are we going to get the bums on the seats? But the last few events have been absolutely rammed the stages, which has been so relieving and satisfying to see, because it's as I say, my team and I who organise the speakers, so we kind of want it to be busy for them. We get these people and we want them to get the crowd, and it's great when
and
they
I think
do.
The other thing that is now becoming a lot more prevalent is like the networking side. I think it's our industry is all about building relationships, and I think even if you're not buying, just having that relationship, the connection of talking to someone on one of the stands, or as well now, I know with like Beauty Directors Club and things, we use it as like a meeting point as well. It's a great get together kind of thing, and I see that all the time as well, where like salon owners are all coming together, and it's I just love the shows, absolutely love them, and I think there's just something really, really special. And I think when we were in lockdown, and afterwards, it was very like, would the shows ever get back to where they were? And I can always remember the first one where it was like the really wide aisles and everything. But I think it is back. I would like to think it is.
I think, I mean, that was a scary time, I guess, lockdown for everybody. But yes, when you're a company that has a huge focus on events and you can't run any events, it's quite difficult. But yes, I think people, we did an awful lot of online events during that time. We did loads of webinars, we did loads of kind of online conferences and things. And we did think at the time, is this the way that things will go a bit when everything reopens? Will people want to meet online? And obviously that's continued to a degree, but you just can't replace the face-to-face, can you? People have come back because they missed that networking, and that's like I say, it's about the education and the networking and bringing people together. If you've got that many people together in one place, then there's just so much you can do with that.
And I think this is always the fear with like AI, isn't it, of like whether or not it's going to change everything. But I think the human connection, everyone coming together, that is like it's irreplaceable, isn't it? And
people get a bit blinded to things, don't they? I think if you're getting a lot of AI generated content, you start to be able to see through it, and it's the same sort of concept, isn't it? You're kind of like, oh yeah, I know. So I think it's doing things that cut through that and say, look, this is the real human connection behind this. That's going to only be more and more important.
I know. I can remember writing an article many years ago after I'd been to an event. It's got to be about 10 years ago, where they were talking about driverless cars and all these and about your phone being on your wrist. And I was like thinking, that's never going to happen. Of course it did. And I wrote an article about are we going to be replaced by robots? And of course, like now you can have lashes done. And
I'm not sure I'd want to, but you
can. It's like, and massage. But I think the human connection side's always going to be there.
And it's about finding a way to do both, isn't it? Obviously, I think there's a lot of value in automating what you can automate, and trying to use AI for more of the admin type work to take the pressure off. And, that's in an ideal world. The AI is going to be doing the boring stuff and we're going to be doing the creative stuff. That's not always been the case, but I think, that's where it has its place for sure.
Oh, Eve, this has been amazing. I know we could talk for hours, but I have absolutely loved this. And I say it fascinates me, all what you do. And as I say, it's so much more involved than just being an editor. And, and everyone loves all that you do.
Thank you. That's really nice to hear.
And I'd like to think everyone so appreciative, because you're always front facing, you're always there, you're always accessible. Where I think in a lot of magazines or a lot of organisations, you just wouldn't have that with someone. So I can only say for everyone, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So obviously with the magazine, that if someone hasn't ever experienced the magazine or the show, how would someone get in touch, kind of thing? Do they just go to?
Yeah, well, you can, I mean, if you haven't experienced the magazine and you want to kind of see what it's all about, the first port of call is go to our website and you can see a lot of the content there. We have different content for online versus print, but you can get a feel for the kind of content we produce and see if it's for you. You can then kind of subscribe or become a member. There's certain additional benefits you get if you subscribe. So yeah, professionalbeauty.co.uk, that's the place to be. And then follow us obviously on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're all over TikTok.
Amazing. And we'll put everything in the show notes as well. So thank you, Eve, because as I say, I know how busy you are, so thank you. And I think this has just been fabulous.
Yeah, this has been really enjoyable. It's always nice to talk about yourself, isn't it? I don't get to do it that often, so thank you.
Thank you.